Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, YouTube. It depends on what time you decide to click on this video. For me, it's Saturday evening about 5:15, and I wanted to record my second video of our three-part series on sexual abuse of children. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ozella Toms, and you're following me on a journey of writing my memoir. One of the things I talk about in my memoir is sexual abuse, and so I thought it was fitting to post a video on the topic. But what I realized when I started the video is that I needed way more than one video. So I'm actually breaking the content down into 3 different videos. First, I do want to say thank you for those of you who are new to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. For those of you who are subscribers to my channel, thank you for your support. I have about 109 subscribers at this point. I'm very excited about that. In the first video, I talked about the epidemic of sexual abuse. We put a face on sexual abuse. We talked about some statistics in regards to sexual abuse. I will share the link to that video in the description box of this video, so you can go to that video after this one if you want, if you have not watched it. Today, we're going to talk about warning signs of sexual abuse and some warning signs of those who are perpetrators of sexual abuse. I will share the links to the information that I'm talking about tonight. The thing is a lot of information out there in regards to this topic. You can Google sexual abuse of children and you'll get all type of information. So I'm just putting some information together. Everything I'm sharing in these videos is not extensive. It's just what I've come across, some things I want to share with people who are supporting children out there. And when I talk about, our children, I use the term our children. I mean our children as in humanity, okay? Our children as in humanity. So the first thing I'm going to talk about in regards to warning signs are physical signs. So one thing that's been cited is if the children we're supporting, the children we're taking care of, our children have sexually transmitted diseases. That's one indication right off the bat that something has happened that shouldn't have happened to this child. So again, sexually transmitted diseases, there's no way to explain that away. Another thing is, trauma to the genital areas of children. So unexpected bleeding, unexplained bleeding, bruising. If you are washing underwear of younger children and they have blood in their underwear, and this is very important for young ladies who are too young to have a menstrual cycle. If something's wrong if there's blood in their underwear. Even our males, if there's underwear in our males, blood in our males' underwear, we need to really, have some conversations, see what's going on with that. Some behavioral signs. So some of the signs that has been talked about, we should look at in regards to behavior are children talking about sex extensively. Like they have this extensive knowledge about sex or body parts. They're talking sexual language, things that children generally don't talk about. So, I have 3 boys, I have 3 children, I have 3 sons, and, we talked about sex in our household a lot. When my older 2 kids were growing up, my younger son is 16, we talk about sex. I want to have an open relationship with my children, so we've always done that. So we're not talking about, when you're having conversations with your children about sex, about the dangers of sex and, things of that nature. But we're talking about just them children randomly talking about sex all of a sudden. But the flip side of that is when you have children who are very talkative, who are very open with you, but now all of a sudden they're secretive. That's another indication. So it's kind of hard because these behavioral signs can really be flipped, right? And so if you have children who've always been very open and transparent, now they are quiet. You want to really, find out what's going on. Why are you so quiet? It's something we need to talk about. What's going on? Why you're withdrawn now? Also, if you have children who are, I talked about this I kind of hit on this in the first video a little bit, but when you have caregivers and your children do not want to go stay with these caregivers, or if, they're coming to the house to keep your children and it's all of a sudden your children are acting out, they're crying, you really want to find out what's going on. Because why all of a sudden are your children, crying when it's time to leave them with certain individuals? Or if these are new caretakers, they might have kept your child once or twice and now they're crying, you really want to find out, why are my children crying about this caregiver? Another thing is when children tend to revert back to habits that they had broken. So sucking on their thumbs, wetting the bed. So if these are things that your children have stopped doing, but now they've reverted back to doing these things, you really want to, see what's going on. Some other things they say to watch out for are overly compliant behaviors. So your children has been very, very overly compliant, very pleasing. Also, things like displaying sexual behavior that's inappropriate for the age of that child. So a lot of times people say if, children all of a sudden are, touching different body parts, or you see your child masturbating or talking about masturbation, if they're touching other children or other people sexually that's inappropriately, especially for their age, you want to see what's going on. It may be something going on. Also, if your children started, in addition to not really talking as much, if they're spending a lot of time alone, they're cooped up in their rooms, not wanting to come out, things that they used to get excited about, they're not getting excited about anymore. They don't want to go outside to play. These are some things you really want to talk to your child about, okay? So one thing here is they mentioned is when children are avoiding removing their clothes or bathing. So I told you in the first video, I used to have foster children. I'm a licensed foster parent for my state. And I had one foster child who would not take a shower. It really took me about 2.5 weeks to get this child to take a shower. When I finally received their records, their court records, I realized why. They had been sexually abused by one of their parents, and them not bathing was like a defense mechanism. They thought, if I don't bathe, I'm going to smell bad. This person's not going to touch me. So it was their way of trying to defend themselves. And this is some information I read in their court records. When they had a forensic interview, they said this to the person who was interviewing them. I really felt awful because I was like, really need to take a bath. You're smelling, and I just didn't have all the information I should have had at that time because this individual was about 16 years old. And so, I knew they needed to take a shower, but again, this was their defense mechanism, and I found this out later. And so if all of a sudden these children you're supporting are not wanting to take a bath, not wanting to take a shower, they don't want to take their clothes off, they're trying to protect themselves, you need to see what is going on, okay? So again, those are, the physical and the behavior. So some emotional signs that's been listed is, changing eating habits. So are they kind of eating less, or are they eating more? Okay, and again, they're not very explicit with that, but we know our children. We know what our children tend to do, how they tend to eat. I know my son is a very picky eater. He barely eats. And so we know our children. So if we see changes in how they're eating, we want to really, see what's going on. Basic things, changes in mood, personality, increase aggression, maybe something to look for, something to look at. Decrease in their confidence and self-image. And if a child all of a sudden is really worried, they have an excessive worry or fear, fear of the unknown, they're just really scary all of a sudden, they may have someone telling them, if you tell what's going on, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to hurt your family. And so if this child all of a sudden is really worried, you want to really think about that. Another thing is unexplained health problems, such as stomach aches, headaches, when you have a decrease in interest in activities, school, friends. These are some things we really want to think about. But also, nightmares. I told you about my family members who were being molested by their uncle through marriage. The abuse happened at night in their bedrooms, and they had nightmares, and they spent time trying to protect each other. So they really couldn't sleep at night because one was trying to make sure that the other didn't get hurt, and vice versa. And so if your child is having, nightmares all of a sudden, you want to see what's going on, what's causing these nightmares. Why are they worried? Why are they not sleeping? And then the last thing they talked about were self-harming behaviors. And I will share that information again. I have a link. So those, again, are some of the things when we think about our children. These are some of the behavioral things, physical things we want to consider that may indicate something is going on. Now, when we think about individuals who may be perpetrators, I'm going to talk about some of those warning signs of those who may be perpetrators. So one thing I do want to talk about is that grooming behavior. We talked about that in the first video. I'm going to read what grooming behavior is because this is something that's very important. One thing was mentioned in the first video is that children ages 3 to 8 are really prone to sexual abuse. It's like at the highest age of the age that the highest rate of kids are sexually abused between those ages of 3 and 8. And a lot of times that perpetrators start out with grooming behavior. Rarely does a perpetrator just sexually assaults a child. They generally tend to work their way up to earning that child's trust. And so grooming behavior are things like they do things to reduce those boundaries. So you might have things like compliments. They might start tickling and wrestling and hugging. So these are normal touching behaviors, but now all of a sudden it's more of it. All of a sudden they want to hug, they want to tickle, they want to play with your children or with children you're supporting. It may be also things like giving kids gifts, money, buying them toys, clothing, trying to spend a lot of time with these children when they normally don't spend time with them. Okay. Again, sometimes it could be also them showing the child pornography and, doing things like masturbating in front of the child. And so when we go back to children talking about things they should not be talking about because of their age. So as a child all of a sudden talking about masturbation, is a child talking about, things they saw on a video. These are the things we're going to think about because maybe the perpetrator is showing porn to them now. And remember, perpetrators can be adults or older adolescents. So it's not just adults, but it could be someone who's babysitting them, who's a teenager, showing them pornographic material. Okay, so these are, I'm going to go through these. Some things that we might consider to be warning signs, things that adults are doing. So some of these things are the adult does not respect boundaries or listen when someone tells them no. So again, if a child is saying, no, I don't want to hug, I don't want to touch, I don't want to sit in your lap, and they're like, come over here and give Uncle Johnny a hug, come sit on my lap. They're like pressing the issue. We really want to think about that and listen to what's going on. Also, when they engage in touching, that the child or the parents have indicated is unwanted. A lot of times, we tend to want to make kids hug people, okay? But if we have a parent, or child saying, I don't want to hug, and they're kind of trying to make them hug, we really want to think about what's going on. When an adult is trying to be the child's friend instead of being an adult in that life. So if this is a coach or aunt or cousin or neighbor, and they're too buddy, too friendly. They're talking about inappropriate things. They're talking about inappropriate, and they're talking about things that seem inappropriate for their relationship. So they might be talking about their marriage. They're having problems in their marriage, or their girlfriend did something they didn't like. There's no reason why an adult should be talking to a kid about their relationship. And so if you hear these things going on, or your child is telling you that someone is talking to them about their relationship or their marriage or their boyfriend or girlfriend, and that's inappropriate, you need to check that. Also, if the adult is trying to spend a lot of time alone with children outside of their role with the child, so they make up excuses. They making excuses to spend time with your child. So it's not a regular coaching session or a tutoring session, but there's like, oh, well, have your child come down and do this, or I want to come over. These are things we really want to think about, like why are they spending this extra time with my child? I want to spend this time with my child. If they are expressing unusual interest in the child's sexual development, such as commenting about their body parts, oh, wow, her breast is getting plump, or, wow, his butt is really cute. So if these adults are commenting about a child's body, their breast, their butt, things of that nature, that's something that you want to really, take consider, take thought of. Also, things like, they're giving child's gifts without any reason. So it's not their birthday. It's not a reason why they should be giving a child a gift, but they're giving these children gifts. Like, why are you giving my child a gift? So these are things you want to think about. Are they giving gifts because they're grooming? Are they trying to keep the child quiet? Have they negotiated with this child? Don't tell, I'll give you this. These are some things you really want to think about. And another thing they say, if the adult is restricting access to other adults. Okay, so when they're with their child, they don't want to be around other adults. They're kind of making sure they're not around other adults, so they have the child to themselves. And then the last thing is, if a child has told you that someone is making them uncomfortable, please listen. Remember that statistic: 1 out of 3 adults does not believe that when a child tells them, this person has made me uncomfortable, this person has touched me, this person is doing this to me. 1 out of 3 adults do not believe that child. But remember that statistic we talked about in the first video said that 98% of these type of reports are made in regards to sexual abuse. 98% are true. So if a child is telling you someone is making me uncomfortable, they're doing things I don't like, they're doing things that hurt me, you please take it as what they're saying, okay? So these are some things I want to share to you today. Warning signs that children may be in our care, children we are supporting, our own children. These are some warning signs they may be in sexually abused. Also, some things we want to consider when adults are and engaged with our children. What are some things these adults are doing, or older adolescents? I'm not trying to freak you out, make you suspicious of every person that's in your child's life, but remember that the majority, 95% of children are sexually abused by individuals they know, family members, neighbors, coaches, church personnel. So it's real. It's real to think about these things, to pay attention, because a lot of times we trust people with our children and they are violating our children. Okay, so we want to take these things in consideration. Thank you so much for listening to me. The last video in this series will be me sharing my experiences with sexual abuse. I'm going to share just a little bit of my experiences with sexual abuse, and then we will end our 3-part series on next time. So until we meet again, please stay safe and well. If you have comments, please comment. If you like what you heard in regards to this information, I know you didn't like what you heard, but if any information was helpful to you, please like this video, please share it. If you are interested in having more content, please talk about that content you would like to hear about, and consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed. Okay, take care.